Zero. Nada. Goose egg. Zilch. Let's see if we can match the Reds and come up with 27 ways to put a zero on the board.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Steve Offenbaker, and we are lifelong suffering Cincinnati Reds fans. We've been podcasting about this team for a combined 14 years. We're glad that you're making Locked On Reds a part of your day. And look, I get it. I'm not the best of energy. We're going to talk about that. This is welcome to Locked On Reds therapy, which honestly, I would have loved that this would have been the first. I'm pretty sure this is like the second or the third one at this point in the season. We're going to hash out this wonderful new record that the Reds have joined. We're going to look at how they can fix it, if there's anything to be done about it right now at this moment. We're also going to celebrate some pitching, as we seemingly have done for the last week, despite the fact that they have not been celebrated by their lineup. And we've got so much more when it comes to what to look forward to with this Reds team in Milwaukee the rest of the weekend. That's all coming up on today's Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And Steve,
let's start with something good. Let's talk about something good.
Good.
For just a minute. Let's start with good.
Let's do that.
Brady Singer, Carson Spiers, Hunter Greene, Nick Lodolo.
Let's go.
What a series of 4 starts. Yes. Amazing stuff, especially when you consider none of us relied on Carson Spiers to do anything. The guy wasn't even supposed to be in the rotation. The last 4 starts from this team, starting pitching, has been phenomenal. And in any other day, at any other time, you and I would be jumping up and down with confetti falling, celebrating the fact that the Reds finally have a rotation that can go out there day in and day out and just mow people down.
And the defense is looking good. But unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, 27 consecutive scoreless innings. And as Jeff Carr, you pointed out in prep, it's actually 29. Because they put up goose eggs in the 8th and the 9th in the 14-run blowout against the Rangers. 29 scoreless innings, Jeff Carr. This cannot stand.
What was the stat, too? I think for the 27 innings, for the 3 games, the Reds as a team are hitting literally a buck, 100 as a team. 9 total hits. And they had opportunities. On Thursday night against the Brewers, there were runners in scoring position. They got runners into spots where they could score them, and whenever they were there, they could not come up with the hit to score them, which I thought was kind of funny because I looked at the splits for the first 5 games leading into leading into this game with the Brewers or first 6 games. And thinking, okay, I bet they're horrible with runners in scoring position this year. Actually, coming into the Brewers game, they were batting .320 with runners in scoring position. So the few opportunities that they've gotten, they've taken advantage of until Thursday night because they took advantage of none of them because the scoreboard was completely empty. I can't believe, and if you haven't seen the historical numbers, it's the first time since 1960 that a team has lost 3 straight 1-0 ball games. It's just the 3rd time in the last 108 years that this has happened. It's only the 2nd time in the live ball era because 1917, which was the 108-year mark, that was the dead ball era. Just the 2nd time in the dead. I can't fathom. And you and I were doing the dreaded thing of like counting up to how many innings they have to do to set the record for scoreless inning streak. Thankfully, they're still a little ways away, and I really don't want to see them add at all to this. But oh my gosh,
to be the bearer of some more good news on that, we are playing the Brewers, and the Reds are 1 1-0 loss away from setting the all-time record of 4 consecutive 1-0 losses. Nobody's ever done that.
If they do that, I don't know what Tim's going to do on the postcast. I feel for him. Because at least that time we'll have a weekend to have let it mellowed and we'll come back on Monday. No, Steve, it's just so frustrating to watch right now because it feels like there are so many series of annoying events. In fact, for those of us that love to look at the sliverest of silver linings that you could possibly see, the 4 top hardest hit balls in that game on Thursday night were all Reds. Matt McLean at 105, Jose Trevino at 102, TJ Friedel at 102, and Jamer Candelario at 101. It's just they happen to stay in the ballpark and find a glove with most of those hits. And it was so excruciating. Hannah was looking at me like, it's April 3rd. Like, why are you so mad? I'm like, because just score a run. Just score.
What do you make of this from Terry Francona? Terry Francona after the game talking about this just train wreck of 3 games in a row. And Terry said the following quote, "They're trying their butts off, maybe too hard. They're fighting. We're not going to have a situation where it's us when we win and it's they when we lose. We'll do this together and we'll figure it out together." It's too early in the year for this stuff. We're on the first road series of the year.
And that's where everyone wants to take this and say, okay, what's the solution? What do we do? And as you said, maybe it's just I got to go get a fry box, and next time I'm at the fry box.
This is why. This is why you didn't go to.
Can't get one out in San Francisco. I don't know that they have one in San Francisco. If they do, I'll get one in San Francisco. But I'm going to be at Saturday's Ellie Bobblehead Day, so I will get a fry box there. Hopefully, we won't be needing to break a scoreless curse by next Saturday, because if that's the case,
oh, dude,
I think
we're going to be locked on. We're going to be locked on knitting around here, or locked on. I don't know, locked on. Needlepoint. But I don't know what we're going to be talking about.
But the thing of it is, like, in all seriousness, like, it's so early in the season. This isn't a point where you start to look at and see, how do we change the roster? Who do we trade? What do we bring up? Who do we get rid of?
Oh, we're gonna get to that. No, we're gonna get to that today. We're gonna talk about that today. But before we get to that, I do want to ask you this question, because we just talked about what the exit velocities look like. We've talked about some of the at bats some of these guys have had. Are you really okay with putting this in the category of bad luck? Are we really willing to just say that this team is constructed just fine, given the injuries that it suffered? This team is constructed just fine, and they've just had some bad luck. I don't think that's the case. I think there's some things for Nick Carr to do.
No, I agree that it's not constructed optimally. I mean, the one move being Austin Hayes, and he starts the year on the injured list, and we just kind of throw up our hands and say, well, when he comes back healthy, then we'll have our new acquisition. And until then, we're going to roll out Jacob Hurtubise and Blake Dunn. And they're not the problems. Jake Fraley hasn't bounced back yet. He's not hitting the ball hard, doesn't look strong. He's not the problem. Gavin Lux, he's kind of okay right now, not really setting the world on fire. He's batting cleanup, kind of a weird thing. But he's not the problem. It's all of it together. There's not one thing that I look at and I say, that's the problem. That needs to be fixed. And if you fix that, they're good. It seems collective at this point, and you just need something to happen, something to go right. And quite frankly, you need a 14-run game, which they had that. So maybe you just need a 2-run game or something just to see the ball go in the hole, right? Like the golf analogy, when you're shooting like an 8 or a 10 on a hole, just see the ball go in the hole and then go play the next hole. Like, they've got to put this behind them as much as history has just been.
Well, as I tease, Jeff, I think there's some things maybe they can do to shake it up right now. I think there's some things to talk about. I think we can figure out a couple of things that they can do. And coming up here in just a second, we're going to talk about what it is that can be done to right the ship. And we're going to get into that coming up next. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled trade professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's all at supplyhouse.com.
When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters the most. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. They have clean and transparent ingredients clearly marked on all of their products. I love the fact that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without all the artificial junk. Plus, they help fuel my performance in the gym and on the air. Whether you're recovering after a workout or you need the energy boost during your day, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at Just Ingredients on Instagram.
Make sure you are subscribed because I promise you, sometime soon, the Reds will score some runs and win a game. They are not going to lose 159 games.
Steve, these guys, they're going to hit.
Okay, well, they didn't do it today, but they're going to do it. Make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss any of the great Reds content we've got coming your way. Jeff and I are going to be with you each and every day, breaking down what's going on with this Reds team. Tim Daniels will be in your feeds every night with a postcast to tell you what just happened. We're going to keep you covered. We're going to keep you informed. This Reds team's going to hit. This Reds team is going to hit. All right, Jeff, what do they got to do to get it done, though? What is to be done to right this ship? I don't know if I agree with Tito that everybody's trying too hard. It's still April. I don't know that that's the answer, but here's what I do know. There are guys out there right now that looked overmatched. And if you watched Tim Daniels' postcast last night, he posed a question. He had a thought that I saw just kind of escaped that was rattling around while he was, talking about the game. And it kind of hit me a little bit, and I want to explore it a little bit more, Jeff, because what he said was, you can't tell me that Will Benson or Rece Hinds couldn't come up right now and not have at least the same or better at bats than other guys in the outfield are giving this team right now. It's hard to argue that. I'm the one that's been saying there's nothing Will Benson can do in AAA that's going to make me want to call him up. But you know what I didn't allow for is the fact that nobody in Cincinnati's hitting the ball. So why not give it a try? I don't know. Why not give it a try? Where's the pumper car? Do you still have the Will Benson pumper cart? Because we might have to put him on it and drive him up from Louisville.
I think we need to dust it off. I think it's worth a look. I think ultimately probably the best answer is patience, but nobody has that anymore. And especially around this organization, it's impossible to expect anybody to be patient with them. They have earned no patience. So it does feel like you got to shake it up. And if you're really looking at it comparatively in a couple of different ways, does Blake Dunn and Jacob Hurtubise provide the ability to strike out less than Will Benson and Rece Hinds? You could probably argue that. Do they provide more power than Will Benson and Rece Hinds? No, we know that for a fact. And right now, this team just needs somebody to run into one. They just need somebody to hit a long ball. So bring one of them up. Bring both of them up. Everybody has options.
If you do that, Will Benson's left-handed. This team can't absorb another lefty. If you're bringing a lefty in, you've got to send a lefty out. Are you ready to send Jake Fraley to Louisville? Or are you sending Hurd
or Fraley? Either or at this point. I mean, so here's the thing. I don't know that it matters. This outfield is so bad right now that I feel like you got to shake it up somehow, and maybe you shake it up by sending the biggest message, and you send Fraley down. Fraley's got a couple of options. He's good to go. You don't have to put him on waivers. Hurd has options as well. You could just pick one, flip a coin. I don't care. Like, get that fire. And Will Benson's got that fire, at least for the locker room. I think right now, maybe more so what Terry Francona was referring to wasn't necessarily that everybody's trying so hard at the plate. I think that was part of it. But I also think that there's a bit of a personality gap here, that we've got some guys on this team that seem to be a little bit dry, and they're trying, but they're just not getting there. And they're trying super hard to be somebody that they're not. I know who Will Benson is. And I know he's going to inject some positivity and some good feelings into that locker room. And hopefully he could run into one. I'm not saying he's going to come up and hit 300. I'm not even saying he's going to come up and hit 250. And he might still strike out 40% of the time. But if you can limit his exposure and you don't play him every day like they did last year and cause him to have this massive negative WAR, then maybe you can put him in right spots and he can spark. They just need a spark. Whatever that is, they've got to figure that out, because it's not going to be a trade. They're not making a trade the first week of the season, or, guess we're kind of bordering into the second week of the season. It's far too early. Nobody knows what they're doing right now as far as buying or selling. So you're not going to get good offers. You're going to have to overpay. Those horrible overpay reports that we heard about Luis Robert, that's still what's on the table. If you're thinking Luis Robert's coming to town, that's not happening.
There's no trade coming. It's way too early in the season for that kind of talk. But I am not opposed to trying to mix it up a little bit. Look, you can just as easily call Will Benson up and then send him right back down if it doesn't work out. But what I know is that Jacob Hurd is not winning the Reds any games right now. Dunn is not going to win the games for the Reds right now. You're absolutely right. They have to do something that could inject a moment into this lineup right now and help this team catch fire. So at this point, Jeff, I don't care who it is. I don't care how they do it. I don't know that I'm in a camp where I say keep Hurd and send Fraley. So it would be a Fraley for Benson and just see how we end up. I give Will Benson a couple days of at bats and see what happens, because they cannot continue to perform offensively the way that they have performed over the last 3 days. April is where seasons are won and lost. And I know people go crazy when you say that, but if they dig themselves into a 10-game hole heading into May, they may not recover from that. It's just the nature of the game. They have to take some steps now to start pulling back ahead. I'm fine for mixing it up. In fact, I think they should mix it up. They should make it.
Yeah. I think it's why that's so frustrating, is because every baseball person in the world would say, yeah, kind of sucks, really slow start. They'll turn it around. I don't know how long they have to wait for that turnaround to happen. We said, and I said on the podcast yesterday, but we've said this before, tread water around 500 and then get hot. You don't sink and then get hot, because when you sink and then you get hot, you get back to 500. You've got to figure out a way to win a couple here and there to get this team back to 500, because 2-5 can easily become 2-9, can easily become 2-12, can easily become 2-20. And they've really got to stop the bleeding right now.
The St. Louis Cardinals are in first place. I don't know how long that's going to last. They won last night. They're 4-2. The Reds are 2.5 games back, tied with the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's early, but they shouldn't be complacent. Hope is not a strategy. And until you get Stevenson back, until you get Austin Hayes back, you have to try to manufacture some runs. You have to try to manufacture some offense. You have to try and stay relevant. Sitting on your hands and saying, I hope they'll figure it out. That's not doing the job. Nick Krall has a job to do. Tito Francona has a job to do. Make a move. Try something different. Mix it up a little bit until we get Austin Hayes back, until we get Tyler Stevenson back, until we really have the team. I said on the crossover show with Chuck, I'm not ready to panic because we don't have our team yet. This is not our team. This is pieces of our team. We're waiting for it to get healthy. But you can't fall super far behind. You can't sit back and hope that it's all going to work out when those guys come back. You have to stay in the mix. Making a move right now, trying to get somebody that, as you say, can run into one, that's trying to stay in the mix. They're wasting so much good pitching right now. Something has to be done.
Yeah, let's talk about that pitching and how Nick Martinez can just keep on doing what he did for the first 5 innings of his first start. That's coming up next.
There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd. Your team scoring 14 runs. I just want to point out the Reds scored 14 last time I was there. Last time Jeff was there, he started this scoreless streak. You can smell the ballpark food. You can get your fry box. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as game time gets closer, meaning you can score on incredible deals. Jeff and I use this all the time. We head down to the banks, we grab some dinner, we grab a couple beverages, and right about 15 minutes to first pitch, we grab our tickets, we head into the ballpark. So you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. That's $20 off already greatly discounted prices. Now, terms do apply. Again, just create your account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcasting app. We're seriously on all of them out there. Make sure you subscribe today. All right, Steve, the good news is the pitching is still working. And the one start that we can kind of point to and say there was a bit of an opportunity to improve on is Nick Martinez. And Nick Martinez is going for his second start of the season. He did pitch a couple of times against the Brewers last year and looked all right doing it. But for the first 5 innings of his outing against the Giants, he was really solid. They give up that solo home run in the 5th inning to Elliot Ramos. But for the most part, absolutely shut down that Giants lineup. I am looking at how he will pitch the 3rd time through the order and as we get to the 6th inning here in this one, because we've seen some really good pitching from Hunter Greene, Nick Lodolo, and Brady Singer getting into the 7th inning. How many other guys in this pitching staff can we trust to go 6-7 innings? Nick Martinez is a guy that I would like to include in that list.
Me too. And I'm not, we saw him pitch the best pitching of his life for a good stretch of last season. I don't expect him to be that guy. I don't expect him to be that guy each and every time out, but I think he can give the Reds 5-6 solid innings every time through and keep the Reds in ball games. That's what we're looking for from him. That's what I'm looking for him in this next start. I don't need him to go out there and one up. I don't need him to go out there with a mindset of I've got to throw 8, I've got to throw 7, but I bet that these starting pitchers are in fact beginning to develop in their minds that I have to be perfect, because if I'm not perfect, we're losing this game. And that begins to take a toll. I need for these pitchers to just keep doing their thing. Don't look at the offensive struggles right now. Don't go out there and feel like you have to be perfect. Go out there and pitch your game. Work the opposing hitter. Focus. The only thing that these pitchers need to be focusing on is the batter they're facing. And if they continue to do that, this Reds pitching staff is going to continue to have success. And it's up to Francona and the coaching staff to figure out why nobody can hit the ball. I hope the pitchers don't start putting extra pressure on themselves to be perfect. I think Nick Martinez, if he gives the Reds 6 innings, keeps them less, limits the Brewers to a run, that's a successful outing. I don't need him to go 7 shutout innings. I would love for him to, but that doesn't have to be his game. Perfection doesn't have to be his game, but I think he's very capable of being that 6-inning, 7-inning guy in some situations where he gives up a run or two, and that's fine. And that's why he pitches in this rotation where he pitches.
And there's something that I kind of wanted to touch on, the idea of like the pitchers pressing a little bit because the lineup is just not producing the way that it could be. I thought there was an interesting decision that I liked from Terry Francona. I know there's going to be some folks that are like, whoa, you guys have been talking about all the decisions you don't like.
So you don't like Tito Francona.
That's what
the comment section assures me that you don't like Tito.
There's something about like when you question a guy's decision making, apparently you hate him, but I don't. I like Tito. I've just been curious about some things, but I liked something that he did on Thursday night. The inning that Nick Lodolo committed the error, and then the error devolved into the only run that scored in the game. But it was a series of events where it was like a hit by Sal Frelick, and then you had I think it was a wild pitch. Did he move over to second on? Or no, he stole. He just got a stolen base to second. And so it kind of felt like things were falling out of Nick Lodolo's control. And so then he threw a couple of pitches that were outside the zone. Terry Francona got Sam Moll up in the bullpen. And then this was like the fourth inning that the Brewers ended up scoring this run. I kind of like that because I feel like throughout the David Bell era, there were a lot of times where we saw pitchers just get into trouble during an inning and they just like were left out to dry. And if they couldn't handle it, they couldn't handle it. I thought it was interesting that Terry Francona felt the need there to get the bullpen going just in case he felt like Nick Lodolo got to the point of no return. And to Nick Lodolo's credit, he fought back and pitched a beautiful game. But there was that one inning where it's like, okay, I feel like there's going to be a point this season where everything is clicking for the Reds and they're playing in a close game, and they really need Terry Francona to be on top of the bullpen, on top of who's on the mound and who's ready to go and who needs pulled, and he's going to be on top of that.
I agree with that, and I think you're right. First of all, you can't blame David Bell. I hear that the Wi-Fi was spotty in the dugout, and if the computer couldn't tell him what to do in that situation, he had a hard time. It's not his fault. The technology was bad. But seriously, I think you're right. I think Tito will be able to adjust on the fly much better to situations like that. I hope that Derek Johnson or Tito or somebody is communicating a message to these starting pitchers to not change what they're doing. Don't let what's happening with everybody else. You worry about your job. You let everybody else worry about their own jobs. And this is eventually going to come together. That needs to be the message as they're prepping these starting pitchers to go out and take their turns. It can't be anything other than here's the game plan. Here's the binders on these hitters you're going to face. You focus on this and you let me worry about them. That has to be what this coaching staff does right now. And I it's going to turn around, Jeff. It can't keep on like this forever. The probability chart says it can't keep on like this forever. So runs are coming, right? And
they are. And I think that's why we're so frustrated. And quite frankly, if you've gotten to this point in the episode and you didn't realize that we were frustrated, we haven't done our job because we're very frustrated. But the most frustrating part about this is that they're all 1-0 games because they've pitched well. They've played defense reasonably well. There's been a few errors and there's been a few miscues, but they've played it well enough to keep the other teams to 1 run. So all they got to do is score 2. I said average 4.5, and you're going to be in a good spot. If they can get pitching like this, and maybe just a tempered version of this, I don't expect 1 run allowed per game for the rest of the season. But if they can get pitching like this in a tempered expectation range, this team will be where we think they can be. And that is why we are so frustrated, because 1-0 counts as bad as 10-0, but feels a lot worse because you could have won that game.
No, it feels a lot worse. And you watch these games all the way to the 9th inning, knowing you just need one break. You need the ball to bounce your way one time, and it's a different ball game, and it's just not happening. And
Ellie needed a foot
right
in the first inning, and he would have had a 2-run home run.
And I'm still expecting, when they break out, I think they're going to break out big. I still expect that Ellie and Matt McClain are going to have a game at least in this series with a big breakout. I said on the crossover, I could see 3 home runs from Matt McLain over the course of this series. There's still 3 games left. He could get hot today and the breakout could be on. This has been locked on therapy today. This has been
off
us
the couch, guys.
getting it off out of our system. We're ready to move forward, and that is probably a good spot to go ahead and wrap it up for the day. We're going to continue to watch this team and monitor what's going on and gather up all the news and the info and bring it back right here and be in your feeds to keep you locked on Reds. This is our Friday show. We will be back in your feeds on Monday. Tim Daniel has you all weekend long on the Locked On Reds postcast. Hopefully he has some scoring to talk about tonight with you guys. I don't know. He might be doing Locked On Needlepoint, but we're going to keep gathering up the news. We're going to keep gathering up the info. We're going to keep breaking it down for you to keep you locked on Reds every single day.
And I think this is the point where the therapist goes, very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's like half an hour ago, they would have been like, well, that's your time.
Yeah.